Something broke at Old Trafford on Sunday. Not just a result, not just 3 more points dropped. Something deeper. Something that has been building quietly all season finally cracked open in front of the entire Premier League world. Liverpool, the reigning champions of England, walked into Manchester United's ground and were 2 goals down inside 15 minutes. They fought back, they made it 2 goals to 2, and then they lost 3 goals to 2. Their 11th Premier League defeat of the campaign. Their 18th loss across all competitions this season. Let that sit with you for a moment. This is not a team in a minor dip. This is a club in a full, painful, undeniable collapse of standards. And what makes it worse is that the conversations happening right now around this club are not just about tactics or injuries. They are about culture, preparation, identity, and the future of several key figures. Every layer of this situation reveals another problem beneath it. And today, we are going to go through every single one of them. Before we go any further, I want to be clear about what is at stake here. This is not simply about finishing the season. The decisions made in the next few weeks and then over the summer will define what Liverpool looks like for the next 3 to 5 years. The players being linked away, the players being linked in, the manager under scrutiny, the captain speaking publicly, the pundits delivering damning verdicts. All of it matters. All of it is connected. If you want this level of detail on Liverpool every single time a major story breaks, hit that subscribe button right now. This channel exists to give you the full picture, not the headlines. Stay with me, because we are only getting started. The mini break accusation. What was written? James Pearce of The Athletic raised serious questions about Liverpool's preparations heading into the Manchester United match. He reported that a large portion of the squad were given time off following the win over Crystal Palace. Many players used that window to take short breaks across various European destinations. Pearce's conclusion was direct. He described the team as lethargic and lacking intensity, and suggested that if Arne Slot believed a break would refresh the squad, that decision turned out to be a mistake. My analysis: this is a very important starting point because it immediately tells you something about the internal culture at the club right now. When a respected journalist of James Pearce's standing publicly questions the preparation methods, it is not something you can dismiss. The players looked slow in that opening period. 2 goals conceded in the first 15 minutes does not happen by accident. The body does not lie. When players look heavy and disconnected in the opening stages of a game that carries genuine importance, preparation becomes a legitimate question. Now, to be balanced, 1 day of rest is not what lost this game alone. But the pattern of taking breaks before matches this season is now under a very clear spotlight, and that spotlight will not fade quickly. The Marcos Senesi rumour, what was written? Transfer News Live, citing journalist Matteo Moretto, reported that Liverpool have made contact over a potential summer move for Bournemouth defender Marcos Senesi. The 28-year-old Argentine is said to be viewed as a possible replacement for Ibrahima Konate, amid uncertainty over Konate's future at the club. His contract at Bournemouth is described as running down. Tottenham Hotspur and Chelsea are also reported to have interest, with the expectation that Senesi will remain in the Premier League. My analysis: I want to be very clear with you here. This is a rumour. Contact does not mean a deal is done. Contact does not even mean a deal is close. What it does tell us is that Liverpool's recruitment team is already doing its work ahead of the summer, which is exactly what you want to see. The fact that Konate's future is uncertain is significant. He has been one of the more reliable performers this season when available, and losing him would be a blow. Senesi is an experienced Premier League defender who knows the division. Whether he is the right level for a club aiming to return to the top remains a question. But the interest alone confirms that Liverpool know they need to strengthen at centre-back. File this one under, worth watching. The Allison to Juventus story. What was written? Sky Sports Premier League reported that Juventus have identified Liverpool goalkeeper Allison as a top summer transfer target. My analysis: this one carries real weight. Allison is not just a goalkeeper, he is one of the finest goalkeepers in the world. He is also a player who has had significant injury issues this season. The timing of this report is important. It comes immediately after a defeat, immediately after a difficult season, and immediately at a point where uncertainty surrounds the entire club. If Juventus are serious about Alisson, Liverpool face a decision that goes far beyond one transfer. Losing Alisson would mean rebuilding the goalkeeping position from scratch. And given that the club already had 2 goalkeepers unavailable through injury at various points this season, this is not a department where you want to gamble. Watch this story very carefully. Arne Slot and the VAR controversy. What was written? ESPN United Kingdom published Arne Slot's post-match comments regarding Benjamin Sesko's goal for Manchester United. Slot stated, and I am reading this directly, that he believed the ball touched Sesko's hand, that the curve on the ball changed, and that there must have been contact. He then added that it is no surprise to anyone that when a VAR intervention happens, the decision goes against Liverpool, and that this has happened to them all season. My analysis. Slot's frustration here is completely understandable on an emotional level. Losing managers often feel that the decisions go against them, but there is a real danger in leaning too heavily on VAR as an explanation for a season that has produced 18 defeats across all competitions. One overturned decision does not explain 11 Premier League losses. It does not explain a slow start against Manchester United. It does not explain the defensive fragility that has been visible all season. Slot is clearly under enormous pressure, and these comments, while honest, suggest a manager who is reaching for external reasons when the internal problems are far more significant. The VAR complaint will make headlines, but the deeper issues will still be there on Saturday against Chelsea. The Xabi Alonso narrative, what was written. Anfield Watch posted that Xabi Alonso is the manager Liverpool need. They cited a report from Marca suggesting that Alonso, during his time at Bayer Leverkusen, confronted his players in early November, reportedly saying he did not know he had come to coach little children. This was said to be a response to some players showing low effort, sulking and whispering between each other rather than communicating properly. My analysis. Let me be precise here. This post is opinion content from a fan account. It is not a confirmed approach from Liverpool. It is not a reported interest. What it reflects is the growing frustration among a section of the supporter base with the current direction of the club. The Xabi Alonso detail about his confrontational approach to player attitude is interesting in context. The suggestion is that a stronger, more demanding presence might be what this squad needs. But I will only go as far as the facts take me here. What this screenshot confirms is that the conversation about the Liverpool manager's position is very much alive in the public discourse. Whether that conversation becomes action over the summer is something we do not yet know. Virgil van Dijk looks ahead. What was written? Fabrizio Romano, citing Paul Joyce, posted that Virgil van Dijk stated, "There will be a lot of work to be done going into next season." Van Dijk added that when he returns from the World Cup, he will go into that work and that there is a lot to be done behind the scenes. My analysis. This is a very telling statement from the Liverpool captain. When a player of Van Dijk's experience and stature publicly acknowledges that significant work is needed behind the scenes, it is not a casual comment. This is a captain who has seen what this club looks like at its best, who has won the league, who has experienced what a well-run, high-functioning squad feels like, and right now, he is telling you clearly that this version of Liverpool is far from that standard. The phrase behind the scenes is particularly interesting. It goes beyond transfers. It speaks to structure, to culture, to the way the club operates internally. Van Dijk is not blaming individuals publicly, but he is being honest. And that honesty matters. Van Dijk defends the days off, what was written. Anfield Sector posted direct quotes from Van Dijk pushing back against the accusation that the squad were on holiday before the Manchester United match. Van Dijk said, and I'm reading the quote directly, that a few days off meant one day off. He called it a city trip, not a holiday. He emphasized that players decided what to do with their families. He said, "We are not kids, everyone is an adult." He then explained that ahead of the Chelsea match, the team had an early kickoff on Saturday, so preparation had already shifted to that. He confirmed they were in a hotel the day before the Manchester United game, played the match, and that 2 days with family afterwards was not a holiday whatsoever. My analysis. Van Dijk is making a reasonable point. 1 day away is not a holiday, and professional athletes are not machines. Rest is part of performance preparation. But here is where I want to add a layer of analysis that goes beyond the surface. The fact that this explanation is even necessary tells you something important. When results are consistently poor, every decision gets examined. The optics of players being photographed in European cities before a big match, regardless of the duration, creates a narrative that is very difficult to shake. Van Dijk is right, factually. But in terms of perception management, the club has a problem. And perception, particularly in the media environment around English football, can affect morale, fan trust, and even recruitment. The captain should not have to spend post-match energy defending city trips. The club needs wins to silence these conversations. And right now, those wins are not coming. Jamie Carragher on Florian Wirtz. What was written? Anything Liverpool posted Jamie Carragher's analysis of Florian Wirtz following the Manchester United defeat. Carragher said Wirtz has had a very easy ride. He acknowledged that he has never moved clubs himself, let alone moved to a different country, and said Liverpool have given Wirtz time and been very kind. He described Wirtz as poor in the Manchester United match. He then said that even when Liverpool play really well, the best attacker remains Szoboszlai, and at times this season Salah, who Carragher acknowledged has not been the Salah of last season, but has still been one of Liverpool's best attackers. Carragher recalled describing Wirtz as neat and tidy when commenting on Liverpool's match at Burnley earlier in the season, then added that he was being kind at that point and would not describe him as anything different 1 year into his Liverpool career. My analysis. Carragher is one of the most respected voices in English football analysis, and when he speaks this directly about a player, it lands with authority. What he is saying about Wirtz is something that many observers have been tiptoeing around all season. The German arrived with enormous expectation. He is clearly a talented footballer, but talent in the Bundesliga and performance under pressure in the Premier League are two different things. The Manchester United match was a chance for Wirtz to stand up in a big moment. Instead, Carragher is telling you he was poor. That is a significant statement. And when you combine that with the broader struggles of this Liverpool side, questions about whether the recruitment philosophy and the player adaptation process are working correctly become very important ones for the summer. The set-piece record that nobody wanted, what was written. BBC Match of the Day reported that Liverpool have conceded 17 goals from set-pieces in the Premier League this season, which is now the most they have ever conceded from set-pieces in a single Premier League campaign. Alan Shearer was quoted on Match of the Day saying that Liverpool's defending was, quote, all over the place again. And that for large parts of this season, that is why they are in the position they are and why they are having the season they are having. My analysis? 17 set-piece goals conceded in one Premier League season. Let that number sit with you. That is not bad luck. That is not a run of unfortunate deflections. That is a structural and organisational failure at set-pieces that has persisted for an entire campaign. When Alan Shearer, a man who is not known for exaggeration, describes the defending as all over the place and points to it as the primary reason for the season Liverpool have had, you have to take that seriously. Set-piece defending is about organisation, concentration, physicality, and preparation. All of those are things that a coaching staff has direct influence over. This statistic is perhaps the single most damning number of Liverpool's entire season. Daniel Svensson, rumour, what was written. Transfer News Live, citing Fussball Darton, reported that Arsenal, Leeds United and Liverpool are all competing for the signature of Borussia Dortmund left-back Daniel Svensson. He also has interest from Inter Milan, Atalanta and Inter Milan. The report stated that with so many options available, his agents will focus on what is best for the player's long-term progression. My analysis, again, I want to be clear. This is a rumour at this stage. The level of competition for this player is significant, with multiple Premier League and Serie A clubs involved. That tells you Svensson is a player of genuine quality and genuine demand. Liverpool's interest in a left-back makes sense given the squad profile. But with agents openly discussing long-term progression as the priority, there is no indication that Liverpool are front-runners here. This is a name to monitor. Nothing more than that at this stage. Van Dijk and the holiday debate. Now let us go deeper into the full article from the Liverpool Echo on Van Dijk's post-match press conference. The situation is this. Liverpool have just suffered their 11th Premier League defeat of the season. It is their 18th loss across all competitions, excluding the Community Shield penalty shootout defeat to Crystal Palace back in August. That is the worst run of defeats in the league since the 2014 to 2015 season. Those are the numbers, and they are uncomfortable. Arne Slot had given the squad some time off, with Liverpool's schedule reduced to one game per week following their exits from the FA Cup and the Champions League in April. Many players took short trips to European cities with their families. That became a talking point after the defeat, with some questioning whether the rest affected the team's sharpness and intensity. Van Dijk's response was clear and composed. He pushed back on the holiday framing entirely. He pointed out that it was one day off, not an extended break. He made the point that players are adults who can make their own decisions about how to spend a single day with their families. And he drew a direct comparison with Pep Guardiola's Manchester City, noting that Guardiola had given his players 3 consecutive days off in recent weeks and that City were performing well as a result. This is a fair analytical observation from Van Dijk. Rest and recovery are part of elite performance. The science is clear on that. But the comparison with City does raise an interesting question. City are performing well with those rest days because they have a squad with clarity of identity, tactical organisation, and deep experience of winning under Guardiola. Liverpool's situation is different. The foundations are shakier right now. And when your foundations are shaky, every variable becomes amplified. Van Dijk was also honest about the injury situation. He pointed out that nobody could have predicted multiple serious injuries across the squad. He mentioned Alex Isak suffering a leg break. He mentioned Wataru Endo with a serious foot injury. He mentioned Giovanni Leone suffering an anterior cruciate ligament damage and Georgi Mamardashvili requiring stitches just below his patella tendon. 2 goalkeepers unavailable at the same time. These are extraordinary circumstances, and it is fair to acknowledge that context. But Van Dijk himself drew the line clearly. He said he is not here to make excuses. He called the season very disappointing and unacceptable. He said the club should not feel sorry for itself and must turn things around. And then he said the most important line of all. He said this season cannot be repeated. That is your captain setting the standard publicly. That is the bar being placed on the table. The critical analytical point here is this. Van Dijk's honesty is exactly what the club needs from a leadership perspective. But honesty alone does not fix a defensive record, a set-piece problem, or a team that has been described as easy to play against. The words need to be followed by action, both on the remaining 3 matches this season and then through the entire structure of the summer rebuild. Roy Keane and the worst insult. Now let us move into the Roy Keane verdict, because this one deserves serious attention. The situation is blunt. After Liverpool's 3-2 defeat at Old Trafford, Roy Keane delivered what he called the worst insult a team can receive in football. He said Liverpool are easy to play against. He backed that up with the number of defeats, 19 across all competitions, according to his count at the time of his comments. He then went directly to the root of the issue, stating that if you want to stop counterattacks, you stop them at source through decision-making and positioning. He labelled Liverpool's softness as showing in their decision-making. The match itself followed a pattern that has been repeated too many times this season. Goals from Matheus Cunha and Benjamin Sesko put Manchester United 2 goals ahead. Then mistakes from the home side, specifically from Amad Diallo and Sene Lammens, gifted Liverpool the opportunities to equalise through Dominic Szoboszlai and Cody Gakpo. Liverpool were back level, and then they lost. Kobbie Mainoo found the winner from the edge of the penalty area. The analytical question is this. What does a team do when they come back to 2-2 with over a third of the match still to play and then still lose? The answer almost always comes down to mentality, structure, and the ability to control a game. Liverpool had the momentum at 2-2. They had the crowd rattled. They had a chance to go and win this match. Instead, the game drifted and Manchester United found a winner. Arne Slot's own post-match comments are worth examining here. He acknowledged that conceding after 6 minutes at Old Trafford creates a difficult period afterwards. He noted that Liverpool did not pick up second balls in that opening phase. What he is describing is a team that struggled mentally and physically to impose themselves in the opening exchanges of a high-stakes away match. That has been a recurring theme. The reality for the club is that the first half approach, which saw Ryan Gravenberch and Alexis McAllister unable to cover the ground on their own, while Dominic Szoboszlai and Florian Wirtz were used as false nines without the natural movement and presence of true strikers, was simply not working. When the system changed at half-time, Liverpool looked considerably more effective. That itself is a coaching point worth examining. Why was a system used for a full first half that was clearly not functioning against opponents who started at high intensity in their own stadium? Keane's verdict lands hard because it is not based on emotion. It is based on pattern recognition. 19 defeats, easy to play against, soft in decision-making. These are not insults thrown carelessly. They are observations built from watching this Liverpool side repeatedly underperform this season. And when a former elite midfielder like Keane identifies softness in decision-making as the core problem, that is a diagnosis that strikes at the technical and psychological preparation of the entire group, bringing it all together. So where does this leave Liverpool as we approach the final 3 matches of this season? The evidence from everything we have covered today paints a very consistent picture. This is a squad dealing with extraordinary injury problems. There is no doubt about that. But injuries do not fully explain a record number of set-piece goals conceded. Injuries do not explain being easy to play against. Injuries do not explain a system that needed changing at half-time of a critical away match. The transfer links tell you the club knows a rebuild is necessary. Potential defensive additions are being explored. A left-back is on the radar. But the most alarming story surrounds Allison. If the goalkeeper situation is not resolved and secured, if a player of that quality were to leave this summer, the club would face a rebuilding job that goes far deeper than one or two additions. Van Dijk's voice throughout all of this carries the most weight. He is not hiding. He is not deflecting fully. He is acknowledging the problem while defending his teammates where he believes it is fair. And his commitment to addressing things behind the scenes when he returns from the World Cup shows a player who intends to still be part of the solution at this club next season. The summer ahead is the most important period Liverpool have faced since the arrival of Jurgen Klopp began the rebuild that ultimately delivered a Premier League title and a Champions League trophy. The question is whether the club has the clarity, the resources and the footballing intelligence to get this right. The 3 remaining matches this season matter. But what happens after the final whistle of the last game matters even more. This is Victor, Liverpool analyst. If this breakdown gave you the full picture you were looking for, subscribe to this channel right now, hit the notification bell so you never miss an analysis. There is a lot more coming as this summer transfer window builds and Liverpool's decisions take shape. I will be here going through every detail, every rumour, every confirmed move. See you in the next one.